Hi, Abraham.
We are.
I see. I really want to understand what's going on in my life and in this existence. That's why I'm putting this out. And, specifically right now, I'm very concerned for our country and this world and the political situation, and the fact that I feel we have leadership that is not really helping this world, and that it's very dangerous.
We're glad you brought that up, because
I am really wondering how I can best use my energy to be a healing force in this world, because
you see what's happening to you. Now, it's lovely that you bring this in, and we've noticed, we like it very much, that when people sit in this chair and we allow them to go on for any length of time, that very often all of the things that they're talking about are about the same thing. So what you're helping us to say, and hopefully we're going to be able to help you feel some relief from, is that the very approach that you've been not touting, but is the very approach that so much of the world is taking as they see people doing things that they don't think they ought to do. In other words, I don't think you should take this land, so I'm going to blow you up, and you don't think that you should have blown us up. And so that sort of taking action response to things that I am not pleased with is exactly what has gotten your world to the place that it now is, where so many people believe that some condition has to be changed before they can feel better. Isn't that really what we're talking about? If you'll stop doing that, then I'll feel better. And if you won't stop doing that reasonably, or if you won't stop doing that just because I've asked you to, then I will gather enough force that I will force you to stop doing that. And if I can force you to stop doing that, then I will feel better. It works to a certain extent. That's why everybody keeps trying to do it. But in the long run, it doesn't work, because what it does is just keep you more and more in vibrational alignment with the things that you do not want. We love the question that came from you just now. What can I do? And we want you to understand that the billions of people around the planet, some close to it, some further from it, you're far from it, and yet you're still feeling it intensely. As you watch this conflicting, contrasting experience, and this desire wells up within you, what we want you to hear from us is that that desire is heard and does matter and is a rocket of desire that shoots out into your future experience. And now we want to put the question back to you. In other words, your future life experience, the world's future life experience, is benefiting from your rocket that has been launched and all of the rockets of all of the people like yourself that have launched rockets about that. In other words, desires are out there and source is on it. So the question that we want to put back to you, and the question that this workshop is really about, is what are you now going to do about your misalignment between your desire that you have launched and where you are in terms of this thought? So as you watch the news, as you continue to activate within yourself the injustice, you just keep holding yourself apart from it. And that's where your own guidance system is saying to you, you can have the benefit of coming into alignment with your own dream, and your world can be as wonderful as the world you hope for everyone right now. And then we drop the biggest bomb of all. This is the bomb we like to drop the most. You can't get sick enough to help sick people get well, and you can't get poor enough to help poor people get prosperous. In other words, if you don't find alignment with the dream that they have helped you hatch, then you're going to continue to be tortured relative to this subject. Now, it's possible that you could stay off the subject, and not feel the torture, but the way the media is focused upon it and the way the political parties are wanting to focus upon it, you'd have to pretty much isolate yourself from the world in order to not be aware of it. And so we see that your work is single-fold. You have to be selfish enough and want to feel good enough that you are willing to force yourself, even though it's not easy, to find a thought that's a little more comfortable than the thought you've been thinking. And from there, to find a thought that's a little more comfortable than the thought that you've been thinking. Let us put it into words that you can really hear. The best thing that you can do for your country is to live the dream that you've dreamed for your country.
That's hard for me.
We know it's hard. That's why we talk about it all day, every day. It takes practice. Activate within yourself the vibration that matches the dream. Oh, it's easy to walk down the street and see what's wrong and beat the drum of that. A true creator out of that launches desire and then fixates on one thing after another until they come into alignment with their own dream.
Well, you know, on some level, I have a wonderful life. I have a cushy life. I have a nice life. I live in a bubble. And what I'm hearing, because this is important, I'm debating whether I should get totally involved in this and that. But my concern is because I'm so easily activated against what I don't want, I'll drive myself nuts because I have such a conditioning to get enraged over injustice that I will spend most of my time being so upset with what I perceive as injustice, and I will then be perpetuating
but we can't guide you
unwittingly.
Because we can't guide you because the premise from which we guide you are not really willing to accept. The premise that we guide you from, and it's usually an easy premise, is to say, well, does that rage feel good to you? And if you were in despair, then you might say yes, and then we would say, then this is a good path for you because this will bring you out of your funk, it will bring you out of your despair, it will bring you out of your sense of powerlessness. But you're not coming from a place of despair, you're coming from a cushy life where things are going pretty good. So it's backwards down the spiral for you, you see. And so what you're saying is, should I be willing to sacrifice my alignment with source energy in order to make something happen? And we say, we wouldn't do it for a moment. We're far too selfish for that because we understand the law of attraction is responding to your vibration. So if it's not something that you're forced to deal with, we wouldn't deal with it. In other words, Jerry asked the question years ago. So I'm walking down the street and I see a man about to bash another man's head in with a brick. So Abraham would say, don't get involved, or would Abraham say, get involved? And we say, by the time your vibration is in such a place that law of attraction has lined you up with that, you might want to intercede. In other words, you might want to see if you can do something about stopping that. And that's that no choice is a good choice sort of thing. That's what we mean when we say you could have lined your vibration up earlier and then you wouldn't be in this situation. But then we always say, doesn't matter where you are, you always have the ability to bring yourself back into alignment. The creative process is really 3 steps, and you can be of great value to this world while you're out there banging around and living the contrast and giving birth to rockets of desires. But the world doesn't need you for that. They're over there living that plight. They're over there living that oppression. They're over there with bombs being dropped on them. They're over there with their children being killed. In other words, the world doesn't need that question to be asked. That question is being asked. People all over the world are asking for an improvement on that, and source energy is answering that, you see. You don't have the power to allow for the world. You only have the power to allow for yourself. And that bothers so many of you. You want to be in a place where you can allow for the world. And we say, you can't. You can want for the world, you can dream for the world, you can hope for the world, but you only have the ability to line up your energy to allow for you. Everybody else has got to allow for them. That's why this Middle East conflict can't be settled in an American office with reasonable people trying to point out to them what's going on. That's why you can't allow for them, you can only allow for you. And when you get that, then you have a way to feel good. And then you say, and this is really what is at the heart of your question, this is what this has all been about. What right do I have to live my cushy, good-feeling life when so much of the world is in a place of such hurt? That's what makes you cry. That's what hurts your heart. And that's why we say to you, you can want for them, but as long as you're hurting, you're not helping them.
Okay, thank you.
Desire like that goes a long way.